with Didge player extraordinaire, Mr. Charlie McMahon. You have a very cool T-shirt there that, that we'll have a look at shortly. There you go. Yeah, and
from a tour of Japan.
Tour of Japan.
Yeah, it's the only T-shirt I've done that features me.
Yeah, all right.
Yeah,
that's a very cool shirt. Yeah. All right. Just I don't know. Go back to the start. What got you into playing Didge?
When I was 4 or 5, I don't remember exactly when I saw the film Jeddah.
Yep.
So this is like mid 1950s.
Yeah.
And then this film Jeddah, the story is a station manager, his wife, her baby dies at birth, and at the same time, one of the Aboriginal women, she dies, but her baby survives. So this woman the white woman ends up adopting the Aboriginal child.
Yep.
Now, when I saw this film, I'd never seen a movie before, see, because there was no TV in the 1950s then. It was my first experience of the cinema, and if you know it, Jeddah is quite spectacular.
I've seen it, yes, in the past.
But anyway, people said that after I'd seen this film, I was a changed person. I used to go out and try and mimic Aboriginal stuff, like throw my clothes off and run around the nutty and catch lizards and cook them up and eat them, all that sort of stuff, and play a bit of pipe, as a didgeridoo. Anything wrong and around, I was onto it. And then later on, when I saw the film again, years and years later, one of the other things that connected me to it was that in the very opening of the film, the woman says, calling up the flying doctor to report the death of her baby.
Yeah.
And she calls the flying doctor Base Alice Springs, and she says, "Oh, this is Sarah McMahon. My baby's died." And Sarah McMahon was my mother's name.
Right, yeah, right.
So maybe I thought, shit, I'm this kid that's been bloody pulled up from the bloody Aboriginal camp. I'm an Aboriginal, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that sort of connection,
yeah, but that's what could have happened. So all the way through the 50s or 60s and stuff, no one gave a hoot about Aboriginal stuff much, but I was, familiar with Didge, and then in the 70s I jumped up with a few rock bands like Leroy's Layabouts and the Oils in the late 70s, and I came already all trained up for the Indigenous Renaissance in Australia.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
And that's why a lot of people think that I was Indigenous, because I came ready-made.
Yeah.
Whereas all these other Indigenous fellows around New South Wales that had never played before, because it's from Northern Territory, it was never played down here. People say it was traded, but that's nonsense. Anyway, so I was ready-made for it.
Yeah.
And it went really good for a while until into the 1990s. I became a bit non-kosher because everyone found it. Well, I didn't try to pass myself off as an Aboriginal player ever, but everyone kind of assumed I was, or I'd been initiated, that whole business. And I became a bit out of favour as a white, because I was called a white didgeridoo player. And you're not going to close the gap by hiring Charlie McMahon, are you? So anyway, I just went with the flow, and from that late 90s on, I was touring overseas.
Yeah.
That's where that T-shirt comes from, because that T-shirt was a gift to all the people that worked on one of the tours I did of Japan. I think it was 2001, I think it was.
Okay. And what did you describe the font as again on the shirt?
Well, that's a form of writing I developed, right?
Yeah.
And as you can see, it's didgeridoos.
Yeah.
Right? So I call it Didge font.
Didge font, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real cool shirt, man.
Yeah, it's a great little font. So, yeah. So there you go, that's the story.
All right, now two subjects I've done a little bit of research. Two subjects I want to sort of ask you about. You were over I've read that you were over in LA, and you lost your wallet, or it was got stolen or something, and you had to sort of play with punk bands to get some money back. And am I correct? Or?
No, I did get robbed while I was over there, which is all part of course of being a an Aussie going overseas, you know, but I bounced back pretty fast, and no, I was right open to the punks.
Yeah.
I mean, I just did it because I was open to new music. I went from there, I'd worked in the desert for a couple of years on my first stint, and then I got a bit of bad luck out there. I got bitten by something at night. I think it was a snake, and I got really sick for a while.
Jeez, yeah.
And so I left that job for a bit, and I was looking to explore music, so I went to San Francisco.
Yeah.
And I recently found a track there I recorded. I was at a festival down in near Cobbitty, west of Sydney, southwest of Sydney, and I heard this track being played out by a DJ from one of the stages there. I thought, gee, that sounds familiar. And I go, oh, that's my Didge rhythm. That's the slow emu, called it the journey rhythm, journey home. And I go over there, I check out this DJ called Aiden. I says, hey mate, would that be Patrick Cowley by any chance? And I said, shit, how'd you know that? I said, because it's an obscure record called School Days, School D-A-Z-E.
Yep.
And Patrick Cowley is a founding member of the gay disco scene in San Francisco.
Right.
And I met him and I jammed with him for 13 minutes on a track.
Yeah, right.
And so after he died from the dreaded age back in about 83 or something, which is 2 years after I'd been there, his mates had gone through his archive and pulled up this track.
Yeah.
And that gets released. So that's my first ever recording.
Oh, very good, very
was
good.
there, and I met Prince when he was not really well known.
Okay.
Playing to a crowd of 300.
Gee, that'd be interesting, yeah.
Yeah, the promoter there, a guy called Robbie, at the Keystone. There were two Keystones. There was one in Berkeley, one in San Francisco, North Beach, and the other was in Palo Alto, which is now Silicon Valley.
Yep.
And he said, hey, Charlie, come and check this guy out, mate. He's going to be really big one day. So this was 1980.
And that was Prince?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Playing to a crowd of about 300. And I think I was the only white guy there, man, in the crowd. But they're all Afro-American dudes who are pretty well-to-do. They weren't your sort of, shoot you up or whatever.
Yeah.
Grungy type people, they were pretty cool dudes, They didn't look sideways at me enough. And I got to go backstage and they didn't really impose themselves on me, but they just sort of, because I was familiar, all the staff knew me because I'd played this gig and I played that gig a couple of times with Mark Isham and Kurt Vertman, who were people from Morrissey.
Yep, I thought those names sounded familiar,
Yeah, and I met Taj Mahal. I had a little jam with Jerry Garcia.
Wow, cool.
Jonathan Richman.
Yep, right.
He's the founder of punk. And the guy that actually got me the punk gigs was Dirk Dirksen. And he ran a gig called the Mab, called the Mabue Gardens. And the Mab was this place where you sort of had to brush yourself through the crowd of underagers trying to get in there because they have 21.
Yeah, that's right.
For booze over there. All these poor kids, anyway. And the rule of the Mab, it's the main punk gig, 15 minutes you're on and you're off.
Yeah.
So it was your classic.
Get on, play, get off.
Punk venue,
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So Commander Cody, heard Commander Cody there.
Yeah, nice.
So it was a really spectacular time. So I went for 3 months and stayed for 6.
Yeah.
And came back with more money than I went over with. It was pretty good.
That's pretty damn good, man, yeah.
Yeah. So
did you need a green card back in the day?
I was all cash dough.
Just cash.
Yeah. Oh, it's terrible over there to receive anything. You've got to have this bloody green card to get a check. Yeah, it had to be all cash money. Yeah,
right.
I did a bit of busking at Berkeley and stuff. So. Yeah, it was a fascinating experience, San Francisco then.
Yeah.
But if you want to check out that track, the track's called Journey Home, Patrick Cowley. Anyway, I got back onto them, the people that released it, and I says, hey, mate, you forgot to include me because I composed it with him. And so they fixed up the copyright.
Oh, that's good of them. Yeah,
so, nice of them. So they've included me as the co-writer of it, which Patrick would have done if he had been alive when they.
It's all right, we're going again.
All right. Okay. So that's your question. It was a long answer, wasn't it?
No, that's all right. So.
Are you much of an editor?
I leave the technical stuff to my wife. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. She's more technically minded than myself. The other thing I want to ask you about is, playing with the oils. One in particular, 82 at Wanda Beach.
Yeah.
What that looked absolutely crazy from the video I've seen. Lots of rain.
Yeah.
The oil's just going berserk, along with other bands like My Sex and In Excess and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's set by the oils, and you coming up on
Yeah, well, that was
standing
crazy
line.
days, that was crazy days. Now, that was on a break from my work in the desert.
Yeah,
Because the equipment I was doing up there, I was doing bores and stuff, and you just can't operate it in December, January, because it overheats.
yeah,
Even if you face your rig into the wind, still, So I was back on a break from the desert work, and whenever I was in town, I used to go and jam with the oils and tell them stories of the outback and have a blow. And that gig I remember particularly because in those days the oils had an oxygen bottle.
yeah. I've heard about that. Yeah,
And on that day, Jim needed oxygen. But you look at those guys now, and they're all as lean as lizards.
yeah, yeah.
And it was a really good gig for them because, you see, they're used to playing in pits like the Antler,
Yep,
which is full of smoke.
yep.
I mean, you'd stand on those stages, like you'd be 1.5 meters above the ground, and you'd see this sort of fog, this grey, brown fog above the ground, And then, not only that, but beside you, really close, because these are pubs, these are not concert halls, these are beer barns.
Yeah, yeah.
You've got, I don't know, a couple of hundred lights, and each one's 1,000 watts.
Yeah.
And this is pre-LED. And people, you see kids these days, they think that we used to wear bandanas just for the look, but it was to keep the sweat
Exactly,
out of your
yeah,
eyes, because
yeah.
it really stung.
Yeah.
Yeah, anyway, so those lean as lizards in those days. And I think for that crowd at that time, for a lot of people, that would have been the first didgeridoo they heard.
Yeah, quite possible.
Cause
Yeah,
there was no bloody people busking didgeridoos and that. Because I remember going out to get a didgeridoo. The first didgeridoo I actually bought it off Charlie Perkins,
right.
and
Okay.
he used to hang out at a Aboriginal Advancement League shop,
Yeah,
run by some missionaries, up near Railway Square there near Central,
yep.
where Broadway ends and George Street starts.
I know it very well. Yep.
And there used to be a lot of gun shops around there and that sort of stuff. But anyway, I went there, and I was really surprised when I came in to buy this didgeridoo. That was about 1972, yeah.
Yeah.
So I actually wanted to play the thing, And I met him a couple of times up the desert when I worked up there. He was a good man, Charlie Perkins.
Yeah. Right.
And very sincere fellow, and no grudge about to white fellows or anything like that. Just wanted to get the job done, sort of bloke,
Yeah.
Very thoughtful. He was a lovely man.
Yeah.
So what got me on the train? So that's how I got my first Didge, and that was the only didgeridoos in all of Sydney
Right. Okay.
back then. Like now you see them souvenir shops.
Souvenir
everywhere.
shops everywhere. Yeah. Yeah.
And you can see these dodgy things called emu callers. They're things which are meant to be emu callers,
Yeah.
but they're actually offcuts of didgeridoos. So
Okay.
you got a didgeridoo and it's 2 meters long. You got to cut it down to 1.5, 2 meter size.
Okay.
You just cut a bit off, and you paint them up, and you call them an emu caller. There's so much dodgy stuff in souvenir world these days.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, and I just happened to one time be walking up Oxford Street with a Didge, and I used to always carry it around wrapped up
Yeah.
because people just didn't know what it was, and they'd quiz you about it. It's true, no one.
Like, they quiz you about it when it wasn't wrapped up.
Yeah,
Or-
yeah, I didn't want to be showing off about it.
Yeah,
I just
yeah.
wanted to glide through.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I walked into French's. I heard this rock sound,
Yep.
and that was French's. I don't know how would. Actually, you would have packed about 70 people into it, maybe. It was a
Yeah.
wine
Probably.
bar.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and oils were in there with a bloody 2,000, 3,000 watt PA, right? Right. Peeling the paint off the walls. And I just walked up, and Robbie Hurst was near there, and he's throwing here his Curiosity. He's the most cute. He's the Curiosity engine of that band, I think. I said,
Yeah,
what's
yeah.
that? He said, oh, didgeridoo. I said, oh, is it in? What's? I said, yes, in D. Because by this stage, I'd figured out that didgeridoos did come in notes, and I
Different
tuned
notes,
them quite
yeah.
precisely. He said, oh, you can play Stand in Line with us. I said, yeah, okay. So I did, and I got up, and mate, boy, to hear that sound through a cranky PA was just awesome,
Oh yeah. Unbelievable.
So.
Yeah, I remember the first time seeing Gone Vinyl, and you were supporting the Midnight Oil at Sydney Entertainment Centre in December of '85, and I'd come down from Lithgow on the train, and it was my first big concert, and hearing songs like Emu through the big PA, just wow, like.
Oh, I better give you a bit of emu, don't I?
Alrighty, okay.
So emu, so people know what you're talking about. Okay, it was always in the key of D.
Yep.
I'll try it this time in F, D.
Very good, very good.
Did that set the dogs off?
Possibly did.
Yep. So there we go. Yep.
Yeah, so yeah, like as you mentioned, seeing it, no, hearing it through the big PA at French's, and then yeah, well, me seeing you at the Sydney Entertainment Centre, just like what a that gig like really changed my life. Like
It was
seeing you guys, and then the Oils, and yeah, just one of those gigs that sort of had a big impact on my life. Yeah.
The Oils were pretty good to us, and the trouble is, you see, is there's a lot of bands would get up in front of the Oils and their crowd was so rude to them.
That is true, yes. That is true.
Time, but they used to cut us a bit of slack, the crowd. So I think maybe because they knew I played with the band, and they just know how to react to the music anyway, you know.
Yeah. Yeah,
we weren't trying to be rock and roll sort of thing, you know.
No, it was a good formula, like drums, percussion, synth, and Didge. Like, as it really had a driving beat to it. Yeah. I have a very slight connection with that song Emu. When I was playing drums in a band, it was just a covers band. But during our break in the set, this is a pub down at Tempe. Just this random guy got up out of the audience. He had a Didge and he started playing, and it sort of sounded a similar sort of rhythm to Emu. So then I got up and started on the drums, and my mate playing bass, he got up and gave a little backbeat rhythm, and made it sounded really, really good. Yeah.
Well, a lot of people picked up that emu rhythm, because the rhythms I do, they're contemporary.
Yeah, right.
Like this rhythm, that Emu. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yep.
1. Yeah. Well, traditional rhythm is ametric.
Yeah.
Right? This is like traditional Aboriginal style.
Yep.
Difference?
Yep.
It's more.
Yeah.
Spasmodic sort of thing. Yeah, like a wild animal sort of walk on 1 minute, jump on the next.
Yeah.
Anyways, so all traditional. No, so no one dreamt in 4/4 or 6/8.
Yeah.
It's complicated and ametric.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Charlie. Well, it's that easy. Thank you very much. And again, thank you for all
good,
all
Adrian.
the music
I hope
put
people
out.
can get a few laughs out of this or whatever.
Yeah. I appreciate your time, and thanks again for showing us your great T-shirt. Thank you,
mate. Cheers.